Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Let me just invite Kate over. Hey guys! Oh wow, I see familiar usernames and faces already. Hey Plant Bay!
Hi, Plant Bay.
Good afternoon or good evening to everyone.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties over here. My screen is it's frozen.
Can you see me okay? I can hear you fine. And I can see you fine
No,
too.
you're just a circle spinning.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay, so yeah, let me just invite Kay back. So these technical issues keep on reoccurring. So yes, hello Angie. Oh, muito obrigado, Brazil. Oh, hello, the thrifted planter.
Okay.
Oh, there. Better?
Yes, but I'm blocked. Like I can't see my half. It's so weird.
Really? I can see you okay.
Really? Hold on.
Okay. Oh, hey guys, thank you for your patience. Let me invite Kay again. Last time, I'm the one who keeps on getting cut off or having technical issues. So I guess this is her turn.
Okay, how about that?
Okay, yes. Third time's a charm.
I think what was happening was we were both putting the request in at the same time. And then, like, I don't know, something was glitching because we've done it before, but it was glitching and, like, the screen would just freeze. But anyways, I'm here.
So, yes, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and to another episode of Planted for this week. So if this is your first episode that you're watching, my name is Cyril. I run Cyril Cybernated.
And I'm Kay. I am the plant enthusiast and collector behind Enrooted Love. And today we are going to talk about something that comes up, I think, in every episode almost. And also just in our posts, it gets asked often. But today we're talking about planters.
Planters, yes. So I think at this point, everybody would have used a planter or two, or would have experimented with one type or the other.
Yes.
Daddy Longleaves is saying, as they would say on Drag Race, hi.
Hi. Daddy Longleaves always has the funniest comments. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you, Banjo Rescue Cattle Dog.
Thank you, thank you. All right, you guys. So we get asked all the time what planters we like to use, what planters are good for this, what planters are good for that. So I think let's start with non-passive hydro, just regular potting, right? Like regular houseplants in organic media. What do you look for with those pots?
Well, I think the common ones that we have all used all throughout our journey are terracotta pots. These are one of the more common shapes. I mean, you could also find them in like more cooler design. This one I found at the local nursery. Yeah, but this one doesn't have any drainage pot, so it's just decorative. And you could always put like a plastic nursery pot inside, or I recently got a drill, so I could probably venture into drilling on pottery. But yeah, the reason that I like terracotta is because the color, first of all, is very warm. It does give that, cozy if that's what you're going for. And they're inexpensive. They're mostly available. Well, before COVID, you could find them at every corner. Yeah. But, after COVID and everything, it was a challenge to find them locally, at least. And with the material, it's made of clay. It's very porous. So if you're someone who is like me, who keeps on overwatering plants, this is probably your planter of choice because it does soak up all that excess moisture. And before you know it, your plant is already dry again.
Absolutely. So when I started growing, although I started my journey with inorganic media, I did use terracotta pots because they were so easily accessible. like you said, they're very affordable. And it has that wicking effect where, you know, because the material is porous, it, you know, it allows the root zone to breathe, and it doesn't encourage like a soggy root zone. Unless you're watering every day indoors, then yes, you'll get rotting root zone. But yeah, for nothing in here. But definitely like even outdoors for me, for my potted succulents, I still use terracotta just because in the summertime, although our temperatures are very warm here, we do get a rainy season because of the hurricane season. And when it rains, it rains. So, you know, I really don't need any of my succulents to be in glazed pots or plastic pots and then risk losing them. So terracotta definitely is the way to go, in my opinion, especially when you're starting off, because I think it's a smart way to go, in my opinion. You know,
yeah, I feel like it's also the safest approach, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, my Monterey neighbor does say like terracotta, for depending on where you are, it can stay well, it can look moldy.
Yeah.
So that my recommendation is just, I guess, up your circulation or ventilation. Maybe move it closer to a window or water less, because of the material. It is also very probably the perfect environment for all extra things growing other than your plants.
Yeah. I will say though, I am a fan of a terracotta pot with very strong patina. Yes. I love the salts and the minerals growing on the outside, which is not to be confused with mold, because mold can grow on the outside of it. But when you get like those salt marks that just look aged and old, it really reminds me of like old towns in Europe that they look gorgeous, and I love it. I love a good patina terracotta pot. I actually don't like the look of brand new terracotta pots. And anytime I use them outdoors, I'll rub them with soil just to make them look a little rough and not so brand new. Because I don't know, I love that rugged look.
Yeah, our friend Kat does a DIY where she actually like uses, you know, those art sponges to make it more look rustic and aged. Yes. So I feel like it really adds so much character.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite passive hydro planter that I have in my collection, wait for this, is the OG rose gold mermaid pot. So I asked Sai to create this pot. He had already been making the same design in different colors. And anybody who knows me knows that I love rose gold and I love blush. And so I told him, I was like, you know, just go with it. I just want something that's, you know, has rose gold and has blush. So this is the OG right here, the very first one that he made. Yes. And I love it. So I use it as a cash pot. And you can just slip any like passive hydro setup right in there. And it just looks awesome. And then shortly after that, I couldn't get enough of it. So I was like, Sai, I need one that's more white, but the same color scheme. Ta-da! So here they are. Absolutely love them. My mom, when she came to visit, fell in love with these pots and was like, we need to talk to Sai because I need some. And so she ordered, how many she ordered from you? Like 6, right? In various sizes. Yeah. And she loves them. Like, she's so proud to show them off in her home. And she like took forever to find the perfect plants to go with them. So these are my absolute favorite handmade pots.
And actually, because of Tita, I started making them in like, what do you call these? Like
cylindrical,
sets. And more like cylindrical pots. So this is like the pink pot. Of course, I have to give credit to you. You were like the very first one who requested them to be in like pink and rose gold. And after that, I ended up making like probably 40 or 50 rose gold pots.
Oh my God, I love it.
And then, yeah, I started making them in terracotta too. But these are not real terracotta. They're like plastic. So it's just fun.
Yeah, I love the design. I love, so Sai and I are convinced that we're mermaids and mermen. it's just a thing, you guys, all right? We live that mermaid life. And when he came out with this design, I was like, oh my gosh, I need it. I'm not huge on owning mermaid things, but this pot is just beautiful. And it's just, I know it's crafted with love. And I'm always happy to support my plant bay. So I was like, this is a win-win. Like, I don't have to think about this. Of course I'm going to order some, but I want to order it in my colors.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely one of my favorites, like top of the line for me, because they're just so freaking cute. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you been making any other ones? I know you've always got something creative up your sleeve, so I want to know.
Well, so far I've only made like a white and pink one. My friend Steph always encouraged me to like make more for her plant shop that's local. And I told her like, okay, let's try a few units. I can make it on, my spare time. And it's really like a good creative outlet for me because I could experiment with color. I've also tried to like make varieties through the years. Of course, I slowed down with COVID, but now I feel like I'm getting the groove back. I feel like, living the mermaid life again.
Yes,
so,
I love it. I cannot wait to see what new designs you're going to come up with.
Thank you.
So excited.
So other than terracotta.
The
next one is probably like the ceramic pots, right?
Yeah, I'm very big on like clean colors. The majority of my pots at home are all white, regardless of what they are. Even this, see, like, even though it's rose gold and blush, I insisted on, the pot being white. And I don't know, I like that neutral color because I think that it will match anywhere in our home because that's how our home aesthetics are. But I'm a huge fan of supporting small starting artists. So whenever I do find an artist that I really like, let me grab one here.
Yeah, well, Kay's grabbing that. Thank you, Daddy Longleaves, for the heart badge.
Oh, one of my other favorite planters is this by Maya Zimmer Pottery. Although it's got plum on there and this is kind of like a warm natural clay finish, the white drip on here, I love it.
It's good. It's so good.
Yeah,
and I love that it has a built-in drip tray. Do you call those drip?
Yeah. So it's, like Sai said, it's got a built-in tray. It's got drainage holes on here. It's absolutely perfect for my potatoes, which this one I just put to sleep because it was looking a little scraggly. So I was like, you know what? You're going to go take a nap for now. And, it's great. It's glazed on the inside, which works for the dirty potatoes. It's fine. I have it in pond, so I'm not worried about risking any kind of rot with this. But yeah, so ceramics, handmade pots. I love to support artists any way I can. And it's always a bonus when they make something that I love.
Yes. So, and I feel like with ceramics, you could be more creative. Like you could find different artists and their different aesthetics. With ceramics, it holds up more moisture. So if you're someone who's underwatering, you might find value in that. Like something that would require you to water less. And they're also beautiful. You would also feel the weight of the actual clay.
Yeah.
In ceramic pots.
So I know a lot of you guys are interested in the passive hydro pots. So I think, are we good on the non-passive hydro pots? Have we covered all of them?
I guess let me just mention briefly that there's also other materials. Like there are also decorative non-passive hydro that are made of cement. What else? Like tin or metal planter. Oh, those don't really do well for me because when you overwater, it tends to like have rust build up all the time. So those don't really work in my favor.
But they look beautiful as like cache pose, right? So you can have it in even just a nursery pot or a terracotta pot. And once you've allowed the pot to drip fully, you can replace it into whatever beautiful decorative pot you have, regardless of what the material is. And it works. And I definitely do that. I have a few white decorative pots around here that I slip my passive hydro plants into. And they serve solely as just decorative pieces and no real function to them. But I appreciate a beautiful pot. So when I can find use for them, you know, I definitely use it. So is passive called self-watering? Okay, let's do a quick vocabulary lesson here. Passive hydro is the method of growing. It is a hydroponic method that has no use of any types of pumps, but relies on capillary action to move water and nutrients from the water reservoir up the roots via the media. That is what passive hydro is. Self-watering pots may be used for passive hydro culture. I say may be used because there are a number of creative ways that you could plant pots when you're doing semi-hydro, passive hydro. But self-watering is just the name of pots that, as the name describes, is self-watering. So how does that work? Easiest way to explain it is that you have a pot. The bottom 1/3-ish, for here it's about 1/4, is a water reservoir. And the way that the plants or the media come in contact with this, there's a couple different ways. So this pot right here is a self-watering pot that does not have an inner pot. Instead, this pot, and if you guys watched my video from yesterday, this pot has what I like to call a platform with slotted feet. So I'm going to pull it out. This is dirty because I haven't cleaned it yet. But this is what the platform looks like. When it sits at the bottom of the pot, you can see here, this is about where it would sit. The bottom of the feet are in contact with the bottom of the pot and is fully submerged in the water reservoir. Within these feet are these small slots. There you go. I'm going to move my sparkly nail finger there so you can see. So those little slots allow for just enough contact between whatever media you're using. For me, it's always going to be either leca or pon. And it allows that material or that media to become saturated enough to encourage the capillary action to occur. So, like I said, this one has a platform and a water level indicator. It sits at the bottom there. You fill it in. For these particular pots, I prefer to use leca because flushing is very difficult with these pots. There's no drainage hole at the bottom. So the only real way to flush with this is everything's potted in there, right? You drown it, you fill it up to the very top, and then you hold everything in place and you chip. Yes. It's not the easiest setup at all, but it works for the plants that I use them for. I'm very mindful of which plants go in what planters. So I reserve these ones for the ones that I can easily just, you know. So, wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
Jeez. Hold on. So loud. So that is the self-watering pot with a platform with slotted feet. Now, you'll hear me often say self-watering pots with inner pots. So the difference between those and this is that here it is. It's the same size pot. Now this pot has an inner pot that's removable. So this serves the same way that a net pot would if you're buying net pots from hydroponic stores or on Amazon. But same concept. It's got the slotted feet that's elevated. The platform is right here, but instead of just a platform, you've got an inner pot that is removable. This sits in there. It fits snugly. And then to do your flushes, you just pull it out and then flush away. So these are the two primary pots that I use in various sizes. So I specifically, picked two that are the same size, just so that you guys can compare what it is that I use. And both pots come anywhere from, I think this is a 2-inch. Yeah, so here's the inner, and like neck deep in pots over here, guys. So I've got little 2-inch ones. This is with a removable pot. And then I've got my big Tycon, I think is a 14-inch pot. And these you can find in either mine or size Amazon storefront. So if you guys want to look and just see the details, the dimensions, you want to shop, wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Di and I have them in both of our shops. So, you know, feel free to browse them there. And then I will say just the other, and these are like the clutch self-watering pots, are the Lechuza pots. I don't have any that are easily accessible right now. But Lechuza pots come in both the platform style and also the inner pot style. And they are on their price point's way up there, but I have found that their water level indicators don't stick like these ones do. And I mean, they're bougie. So, only my bougie plants get them. So my giant Tycon is in one. And that was one that we were very happy to invest in, that pot, because the Tycon is, it's a monster. So it deserves a pot that I knew it would fit in. But kind of just my general rule of thumb when picking the size is don't go by the size of this outer pot, but go by the size of the inside clearance, be it the inner pot or this. So as you can see, the volume that each one of these can hold is very different. This is about half as much as this can hold. So, you just want to keep that in mind when you are planting. My general rule is to always just snug the roots in there.
Yeah.
They're going to get their water. I know, like, when you're planting in, like, terracotta, they say give it some breathing room or whatever. And yeah, that makes sense because it doesn't have a continuous supply of water and nutrients. But when it sits on top of a reservoir, it's fine. And like if you guys watch the video I did yesterday, you can see just how compacted those roots were in that pot that I moved it to. And you can see the size that I put it in, and it wasn't a big difference. So, oh wow, I did that without even planning for today's thing.
And I'm glad that material's already out there for them to just check back.
Now I know you use different ones, right? You have some other self-watering. Can you tell us about what you use?
Yes, so the principle is the same. They're also self-watering, but this one doesn't hover over the actual reservoir. So this one is more of like a wicking system. Pardon the dirty wick. It's supposed to be white, but as you use the planters, so the ones that I fancy are the ones that I can see the water level, because, who's someone who overwaters, I'm like obsessing. Oh, is the water down? Is it time to water? So this one, you lift the inner pots and you get to water them. Or honestly, sometimes when I'm lazy, I just water them from the top. They also have these like holes that would have circulation. And the principle is the same. Daddy long leaves, the capillary action still works for this, even though it doesn't have directly come in contact with your water or your reservoir, because the wick does the capillary action. So,
and I would say Lechuza, which I find to be I consider them the ones who kind of put self-watering planters on the market. Lechuza also has wicking system pots that are under their self-watering. So I would, if I liked seeing the water levels, I would definitely be using those as well. I trust them. They work exactly the same, you guys.
Yes. What makes a difference is, I guess, your aesthetics. Like for this room, it doesn't really get the best light. That's why I have grow lights and everything. And it's just convenient to go towards the shelf level and see if anyone's thirsty, But with this type of, self-watering planter, you could still hide them in nicer decorative pots. And it still does the thing. However, it kind of defeats the purpose of you seeing the water level, because that just happened to my Hupersia last night. I just didn't realize it was thirsty because it was inside a decorative pot. But yeah, it depends on what works for you. I personally had to try a lot of these self-watering planters. I also have the ones that Kay has. I have those for my bigger philodendrons. And the smaller cuttings are usually the ones on those clear self-wicking system, because I can see them as they grow bigger, and I can see the water levels as well. With my bigger plants, I'm not really too concerned about keeping the moisture consistent, because they're already established. So I could just top up whenever I want to. And that's what works for me.
Totally. One thing to keep in mind when you are using clear outer pots is that there will be, you can expect algae buildup, and that's just something you can't avoid. I get it on the In Rooted Love Hoya wall. It happens. Baby boy and I do maintenance on that quarterly just to clean out all the algae. But a quick way to fix that is just like Sai showed earlier, you can slip that into a decorative pot that's opaque. Yeah. And it's a quick fix. The thing is, algae isn't going to harm your plants. The only thing is when it starts to grow more aggressively, then you are competing with the algae for nutrients. So that is something to keep in mind. And, you know, if it grows aggressively enough, your plants aren't getting the nutrients because the algae is getting it all. And all you really have to do, you guys, is just get one of those baby bottle bristle brushes and
And yeah, what I do, I just get a paper towel, dampen it a little bit, and shoop, it's done. And it only takes a few minutes actually to finish everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people fuss over it and say like, oh my God, it's going to come off plants. It's not going to kill your plants, you guys. It just, over time, it becomes a competitor for nutrients, and it's just ugly.
Yes. It's more of like an aesthetic thing.
Yeah. So those are planters that I think probably seem a little pricey if you're just getting into passive hydro. But there are budget-friendly ways to plant in passive hydro. And one of my favorite ways to do that is by use of net pots. And I call these airplane cups because they remind me of the cups that they serve refreshments in on like flights. Yes. So this fits perfectly on there. I always just fill the water up to about 1/3. Right now I'm letting this come down a little bit lower. Yeah, exactly. Or if you're using a larger net pot, this is a 3-inch net pot and it fits perfectly in these. But I think it's the 5-inch pots that fit perfectly in the soup canisters, like the to-go soup.
The takeout ones. Yes.
Yeah, the takeout soup canisters. So, something like that you can use. Actually, these also fit really well in 16-ounce wide mouth mason jars. And that works fine. For the longest time, I did that, but then it just became too heavy, so I moved over to plastic. So you certainly don't have to spend a lot of money on self-watering pots. You can totally DIY them. Our friend, Melalina Catlea, DIYs all of her I would say all. The majority of her self-watering. Yeah. And she does everything from like yogurt containers to go cups.
Coffee cups.
Coffee cups. Yeah, it's crazy. You guys should go check her out if you want to see any DIY options. As long as you can put two vessels nested within each other and there's space in between them, it works. Or just like that. So Sai's he's got just a pot. What is that?
Yeah, this one is an orchid pot. It fits inside my decorative ceramic pot that doesn't have a drainage hole. This is actually like a tag. Yeah. It's not a hole. So I didn't even have a wicking system on this one. So it just sits on top of water. And because
that works too.
Yeah, and because the pot has like these tiny clear heels on the side because it's meant for orchids, it works. I mean, this one's thriving. And you could be creative. You could like just go to the dollar store, buy a glass vessel, maybe buy in bulk some net pots, orchid pots, or just smaller vessels that you might have already on hand. Yeah, and just see how it works.
So it's actually great that you brought that up because one step down on the spending ladder is exactly what you said, and it's whatever you have sitting around. So this is a small crystallinum seedling that I got a while back, and none of the pots that I had at the time would support how little the root system was at the time. So I cleaned out the pot that it came in. It came in moss in this little 2-inch, I think this is a 2-inch tall. Replanted it in pond, stuck it in an airplane cup, and then I just fill it up, and that works too. As long as you're using passive hydro friendly media, which is inert inorganic, and porous. Those are the three things you need. As long as it fits those things, it will work. It's fine. This has no wick in it. It just uses a capillary action from the holes under the inner pot and sucks it up. And I can see here that the top of the media is moist. So I know that it's working. I trust the media. It's science.
Yeah, and you could really see the roots poke out most of the time. So it's going to tell you like, hey, I'm doing well here.
Exactly. So, you know, we have things that range from this, which is, you know, anything that you have sitting around, all the way up to Lechuza. That's just expensive. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I have, this is an old glass, just a net pot. Well, I'm supposed to put pond in here, but it's still like rooting in water at the moment. But once it's done, you could put pond in the middle or leca, and then it's just going to sit on top of water. And you could reuse this glass because we don't use this one. So, you know, just being creative until you find something that works for you.
Totally. One of my favorite things to do when I was just getting started was walking through Home Goods and like Marshalls, TJ Maxx, and not even looking at their pots, right? But looking at their glasses, like their drinking glasses. If there was something that was just like simple, but had like, you know, a beautiful aesthetic, like style that fits my home, I'd be like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. Or used up candle vessels. That's another good one too.
I secretly bring my vessels whenever I go out because, for example, that small net pot, I forgot what it used to have inside, but I would always like, I guess, at least measure the diameter. So whenever I go somewhere and I would be like, oh, this might work for this one. You know, I use my fingers to measure and it works.
Yeah. Daddy Longleafs, we're saying pon, P-O-N, and that's Lechuza Pon.
Yes.
Which is...
Thank you, Angie, for buying a badge, by the way. And also, Anna, we're just going to start to acknowledge you guys. Thank you for the support.
Yes, thank you all so much. And I think it was Angie. Was it you who was calling me and Sai out earlier on how you can't get pawn because we bought it? Y'all got jokes today, huh? But let me just go through here real quick and see if there were any questions that we missed. Yeah, I've seen folks, you know, melt holes into plastic. I don't recommend that personally just because of the fumes. It can be very dangerous to inhale those fumes. I use a drill. Even on soft plastics, like flexible plastics like this outer pot, I've used the drill before and it was fine. I feel more comfortable doing that. But yeah, if you want to use like a soldering tip to melt it.
Yeah. Oh, I've also seen someone do it without a drill, but maybe a rag and do it inside like a bucket. Because when you do it underwater, the pressure is less and it's evenly distributed, so it wouldn't break your pot. So that's if you're gonna try it with a ceramic or a terracotta pot.
Oh yeah.
But with plastic, yeah, I also use like, what do you call that? Like the one that you press and it spins, like the one that you engrave. The one
like an engraving tip?
Yes. I could
the Dremel. The Dremel. That's what it is. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, using an X-Acto knife is super helpful. Yeah, definitely repurpose those soup containers, you guys. Get creative. The X-Acto knife is, you know, it's great. Just be mindful of your other hand when you're cutting because it will slip. But yeah, getting the holes in there for that, that's super great. And it's also a great way to reuse these plastic containers.
Yeah, I just got a drill, so I might try it for the first time, but let me practice because I've never done it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not like your handy kind of guy. I'm more of like a glue gun kind of guy. So this is my first power tool.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. And it's just the other day. See, I'm the opposite. I love to use
Kay is the handy boss lady.
We got these huge, I think they're 14 or 16 inch planters for outside, and there was only one drainage hole, and I'm like, well, that's unacceptable. So I took our drill with the biggest drill bit that I could find here, and I was just like, zzz, zzz. It was fun. I love it. If you are going to drill holes though in like a ceramic or terracotta pot, just make sure that you are lubricating the drill site with water. So what I like to do is I have the hose on very low, just almost a drip, constantly on there. and it's just a slow drip so that if it's not lubricated with water, it'll overheat and shatter, and you don't want that. And wear your proper PPE. So if you've got safety gloves and goggles, and maybe even hearing protection, because the screech that it makes, like the drill bit against that, it's just not nice.
Miss Bay did send me a planter that he drilled before. So thank you, Miss Bay. Yeah.
Yay!
Do you have to use like a diamond bit? I heard about that.
Yeah. So you want to use either a diamond bit or a masonry bit. So we can put those on. We'll link you guys on some of the stuff we talked about. We'll go on our stories later and link you. But yeah, PPE. Yes, always wear proper PPE. It is super important. I cannot stress that enough. But yeah, I think that about covers it today, right?
Yes.
Super helpful. So just, like I'm looking around here and everything here is in self-watering pots for me. Self-watering, and this one most of them have inner pots. I like to use the ones with inner pots when I'm using pond, just because those flushes are so much easier. I can pull it out, flush it outside with the garden hose. And yes, daddy long legs, I know.
I was about to say the same, like, why are we mentioning things that could be misinterpreted? But that makes it fun.
Yes, let your imagination go wild.
Yes.
But yeah, so if you guys have any questions at all, or if you're a team replay and you're watching this, definitely drop your questions down in the comments below on either one of our posts, and one of us will get to you about it. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. This was such an interactive one. It was really fun. You guys, we see the ones that show up, and we appreciate you all, and also the ones who can make it here and there, and team replay. We really appreciate all the love that you guys show us. So stay tuned for next week's episode.
Bye.
Good night. Ah!